Alright, we are recording, so time to see if this is going to be a short video or not. Hard to say. It might be. I do have a number of notes, but not too many, I think, are going to trigger rants for me. So we'll see. Some will. Alright, it's also, I've got a weird headache going on, so that's another reason I may try to keep this short. Okay. So this is from Anakin and Obi-Wan arriving in the hangar, which is weirdly described there, to them about to enter the general's quarters, which is where Dooku and Palpatine are. Palpatine being tied down, but it's made very, very clear, in case anyone wasn't certain, that Palpatine is Darth Sidious, Dooku's master. Anyway. So in the beginning, after they eliminate some number of the droids then back away. And it's like, Obi-Wan's like, I hate it when they do that. It's like, why? Because I don't know what, I don't quite remember how it goes, but it's basically they never do that without reason. So what's the reason? And just it always bothers Obi-Wan. But they get a little bit of a respite. And Anakin is shown an image by R2-D2 of Palpatine being chained there, and it really stresses him. And he starts clenching the artificial arm so hard that at the nerves connecting to his shoulder are in pain. Then describes later that he actually starts working down the arm, and he talks about how his arm is in pain. And Obi-Wan's like, I didn't know you had pain sensors installed. And it's like, I didn't. So he's basically suffering phantom pain there, but it's explained that it's a reaction to him sensing that Dooku is on the ship, or at least believing that he is. He is, obviously, but is it that he's actually sensing that he's there, or he's just somehow aware of him being there? I'm trying to have the distinction there of like, the Force is telling me he's here versus I got a feeling. It's not sure which that is, but either way, it's provoking that pain. Which is kind of interesting. He then, shortly after that, has a vision of him holding the lightsabers at Dooku's neck, and he just comments to Obi-Wan that he thinks they're going to win the war today. Which is not quite true, but it still is. That would be a significant change in the situation. Okay, at this point we then go to basically just Dooku talking, which does get somewhat interesting. For one thing, he seems very open with Grievous that, yeah, I'm a Sith Lord. This is a problem, because even if there are people like, yes, the Republic is corrupt, or yes, the Separatist army will help me, and that's a good thing to join, it still say, wait, you're a Sith? I think a lot of places would be like, okay, yeah, we got problems with the Republic, we kind of like what you're offering, but you literal definition of evil in this country, in this galaxy. Like, you lie, you murder, you're treacherous. I'd rather put a blaster bolt in your head than join you. I was like, that would be how a lot of places would react. So it seems very odd him being open with this, at least with Grievous. Because even if it is just, it's like, there's going to be people around Grievous. I was like, clearly this is known, is my point. That's a problem. Because you can't square that with various other things, like people being comfortable joining him, and also what he thinks the plan is. Yeah. So just want to keep going. It's the way it's told. It kind of jumps around a little bit. It's not a bad way of telling it, but it's like, here's something that's like suggesting that there's more, and you do end up getting it. Not completely though, because there is a mention. No, that's not it. I thought it was in that area, but some mention to it only being like days ago. That, oh yeah, and I think that only days earlier, the Jedi had seemed so close to uncovering, even destroying all he and his master had worked for. I'd really like to know more about this. It's right at the end of the chapter. Maybe we will, but not at the moment. Yeah, so then we he does have this conversation with Grievous that was odd to me. Not because of what was being said, but that Grievous seemed so very subservient to Dooku, and that was never my impression of him in the movie. Which might just be, this is thicker than the movie. And so there is time for Grievous to be subservient and then become more dominant. But in the movie, it seemed far more like he is dominant. Like he would consider himself more equal to Dooku. It's like, yeah, you're the political guy, but I'm the one who actually, is commanding the army. So, yeah. So that seemed a little odd. But also with the plan, and it does kind of connect in with this. Dooku believes that the plan is, he will be captured. He's going to allow himself to be captured. He is then going to be like, oh, I've seen the light. I finally realized how evil all this is. All these things that General Grievous has been doing. Yes, it's so terrible. I had nothing to do with any of the... Basically, he's going to try to turn state's evidence to throw Grievous under the bus with the expectation that Grievous is going to be dead and not able to defend himself. But that everything will be blamed on him, including the current onslaught of Coruscant. Yeah. But he thinks that then, with his survival, in captivity still, but his survival, he'll be able to still manipulate some things and also potentially get Anakin to now fall to the Sith. And so then Anakin's voice, as the one who captured him, would allow the push to basically make it, form the Galactic Empire so that this cannot be allowed to happen again, and blah, 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 blah. Things like that, which I have points about it later on that Dooku's an idiot. Well, I like saying it that way, that he's an idiot. It's more so he is a fool. He truly is a fool. Which there is some overlap there, but fool is the better term. He is also kind of stupid for not realizing certain things happening, but anyway, mainly let's focus on him being a fool. That's probably the better word at the moment. So continuing on, I need to fix that typo, because it's what I do. There we go. That's what I do with my notes that only I will ever read. So when it's talking about Dooku, it also talks about the Separatists, and that it is the Confederacy of Independent Systems. Okay. Apparently that's the term for it. I have a feeling that's meant to also be a reference to the Confederacy of the Confederate States of America. But it's described as principled. I just read this other book called Attack of the Clones. No, they're not. It was very obvious. They are not. Don't say that. They're not. I mean, it's like you have the trials, which is basically, yeah, we're going to kill you. Want to say anything first? This is fake and you're just going to provoke war. Yeah, we don't care. Go. I mean, they're not principled. It is already obvious. You've already established that. Well, the previous author already established that, but it still is you'd think he'd at least read it and be like, oh, yeah, I really can't say it. Or an editor would be like, yeah, no, that doesn't work. They're not principled. Or you'd have to be very much explaining how anyone would think that they are principled. They are not established as principled. Don't say that. Okay, yeah. It's the jumping around a little bit is, so my notes are not necessarily in the clearest order for how to talk about these things, but I'll still try to follow them. So we do get some more background on Count Dooku, which is nonsense. Because it's described that he is a hereditary count. And that, when he decides to leave the Jedi at around 70, that, oh yeah, he just goes back and reclaims that title. It's like, no. No. They're brought into the Jedi Temple before they are 1 year old. I don't care if it's a hereditary thing. You're not... You are out of the line now. Okay, for two reasons. One is, you're not being raised by that family. I'm sorry, but that would be a very legitimate reason. You are not raised for it. You are not prepared for this leadership position. You're not getting it. And two, Jedi aren't supposed to have relationships and therefore not supposed to have kids, which means you are the last count. You are the last in the line. Again, that is not something that a hereditary line would allow. Okay? Situation like that, it would be okay, we're having another kid then, and it's going to you. That, basically, the other child will not exist. But it would also be a matter of that child growing up you need to understand, you are going to have kids. You are going to continue this line. This is your responsibility, okay? And it's very, very serious. It wouldn't even matter what that child may think or desire for themselves. They would have to have children. They would be raised constantly with that being a responsibility for them. As part of the thing with the whole, like, arranged marriages between countries in royalty, it's like, yeah, guess what, son, guess what, daughter? We're going to marry you off to somebody so that you have a child that will bring peace. Doesn't matter that you don't like him, you're doing that. So, yeah, no. It is that important. There is no way he would actually still have that title. Unless it is there is no one else left. That he is the only member of that family left. That's the only way. But even then, 1 year old. How do we even know Dooku's his actual name? I'm completely serious here. I am completely serious here. If I were the Jedi, I'd probably be giving them their own names. New names. Jedi names. That they would not have. To completely cut the tie from their family. That they would not have that name anymore. It is cold. It is cruel to a certain degree. But it's exactly what the Jedi would do. Because they don't want any ties back to the family. So stripping that identity would have to be part of that. And there's actually some other stuff here where it's like, either this author's trying to retcon things or doesn't quite realize that what they're describing here really doesn't work with what's already been established for the Jedi. But anyway. Okay, yeah, no, I covered the points there. That there was no way he could be a hereditary count. No one would. It breaks the line. It's like, he would not be able to come back and be like, I'm the count now. No, he would have to, like, seize it himself. It also tries to describe that this shows how great a man he is, because with all of his wealth and power, he could use that to just take over the Republic potentially by buying senators. It's like, but he didn't. He decided to fight to ease, to make things better. It's like, what are you trying to tell us about Dooku? I don't understand this. It's like, he couldn't be a count, but even if it is, he has all these resources, but he's deciding that he's going to fight instead. It's like, that doesn't make him better. Especially not in this way. I mean, something like that would be more of a, hey, systems, leave the Republic. Look at all this wealth I have. I will help you. Okay? Whatever you're going to be losing by exiting the Republic, because you may lose out on trade deals such, I can help you overcome that. That's more so, it's like just the secession, not a we're going to war kind of stuff. That's what would make more sense. But I don't understand why they're trying to set that up. And it is also the whole, it kind of goes back to the principle thing. It's like, these aren't principles here, okay? These are tyrants. Anyway, so as it goes through, it describes, like, his past, why he is the way he is. And some of that, it's like, could you be more clear on what exactly is going on here? I mean, it's like, okay, he doesn't have an understanding what friends are. It's like, okay, but it's, that sucks. But it's also described as though, like, the other Jedi kids were just being cruel, and when he didn't lie for somebody because they were his friend, that's what turned him. It's like, no, that if anything, you would see other Jedi recognizing what's going on in him and praising him. That's like, yes, honesty is important here, and if they're asking you to do that, they're not your friend. They're just using you. That it's like, it's true, they are not your friend, but that doesn't mean you were not their friend. I mean, it's like, it doesn't make sense. And trust me, I don't have that great of friendships with certain people. I understand this. It's like really, really dumb. But anyway, it describes that he basically puts all persons into two categories. And there's only these two. assets and threats. This dude is an idiot. Fool. He's a fool. Because assets can be threats, and threats can be assets. Because the way a threat can be an asset is you know how they will respond. So, for example, Obi-Wan and Anakin are technically threats to him. Anakin could potentially be an asset, but it's still, they are technically threats to him. But because of them being threats, he knows what their behavior will be 9 times out of 10 for any action he makes. That makes them an asset to him. Whereas an asset, like, say, Grievous, can also be a threat, because he has to keep Grievous close. Grievous knows who he is. That is established, even though I think it makes no sense. But it's also Grievous controls the army. So he's actually in a far greater position to be a threat to Dooku than even Obi-Wan and Anakin are. And they're expected to be that. So you shouldn't simplify them down in that way. It really does make him a fool and makes me think, yeah, he's not that great a leader. Because I guess a way to put it is, if you imagine a chessboard, he would be like, his pieces are assets, the opponent's pieces are threats. But it's like, just because he knows how the assets on his side can move, doesn't mean they will never fail him. And it's the other side, he will win by knowing what the other side is doing. So that is an asset, is knowing how the other pieces move, more so than your own. So it's just, I know I butchered trying to explain it, but it still is, he's a fool for just simplifying it down that way. And the best way to spin that, but I don't want to spin it this way, is that he is so arrogant he doesn't realize how little he actually understands things. But I dismiss that because then you describe it. Then you can't put it in there. Or I guess potentially in the next chapter. Well, no, because Sidious would be the one to tell him. Because Sidious would recognize this and has been using him by exploiting that. But you can't do that in the next chapter. But it still is just the whole... he thinks this, and he's achieved all these things thinking that way. So it's like you're giving him successes even though he's a fool. So anyhow, okay. So the next way that he's a fool is he thinks that, as I explained the plan, basically he turns state's evidence. We'll have the Separatist leaders killed, and then we'll be able to help shape the galactic empire that follows. Yeah. Part of this is also that he is deeply racist, which has never been set up previously. That he believes that the galactic empire should be human only. And should be ruled only by the humans. So all these other species are lesser species, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, we haven't set this up previously. Why are we just throwing this in now? I mean, it does not seem consistent necessarily with his character previously. Yeah, it just, I guess I'm trying to remember. It's been a week or so since I was reading Attack of the Clones, but that's true. The idea that he would be so racist, I'm not sure if I feel like there should be a better word and it's just not coming to mind. I don't really think there's anything to set that up there. And plus, don't forget, at least one of his masters, it kind of suggests that he had others, was Yoda. He was a Padawan to Yoda, who clearly is not human. And Yoda handed him his ass when they fought in Attack of the Clones. He also was working with the Geonosians. And so even if it was I'm working with these people because I have to, even if it is something like that, it still is, he's known Yoda for basically his entire life. And consistently, Yoda was his better. I don't think he could quite square the whole, all these non-human aliens are inferior to us, except for the little green dude that I could step on, except he is so strong, I need to use the Force so he can't kill me. Like, he swings a sword so hard at me, I need the Force to hold it back. It's like, what the hell, man? But anyway, he believes all that, and that also the Jedi will be destroyed, and like some may be willing to turn and become the Sith army, the Fist of the Empire. And there's more that connects in this. It's like, okay, I think they're trying to retcon something. It's like, no, it doesn't work, and I'll get to that. But he's again a fool for this, for believing that the Sith army could exist, because the rule of two, which he should be aware of. I mean, it was mentioned in The Phantom Menace, even, that always two there are, no more, no less, master and apprentice. But which was this? Was this the master or the apprentice, referring to Darth Maul being killed? And it's like, he thinks that there can be an army of Sith under him. He thinks that even just turning Anakin is like, oh yeah, then my master, I'll be your master, so there'll be three. Wait a minute, that's one too many. Who goes? Well, my master is like really smart. Like, he's better at masterminding than me. And he's also more powerful than me, because it's like he's concerned that Anakin might be able to surpass him. He didn't mention me in that. And he's the one who's saying Anakin is going to be the... I'm not in the two, am I? I mean, it's like, Dooku's an idiot. He really should realize that the only way Anakin becomes a Sith is if either I die or Palpatine dies. I don't think it's Palpatine that's dying unless I kill him now. I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, Dooku should be a better threat than this. I mean, they really diminished him so much here by making him a fool and by making him this racist. That's like, he was better when it was just, no, he was a fallen Jedi, essentially. I mean, it still is fully, I believe this. They should have had him be a third party that was figuring this stuff out, formed the Separatists because he wanted to fight the Republic, reached this high level, and then finally he came to realize Sidious is Palpatine. And so it's like, we have to do a mad dash, a blitz to the Republic to Coruscant to capture him. Technically, also should have just immediately executed Palpatine, but do that. But, and it's like, okay, well, how do you have Palpatine controlling the Separatists? As I said with Attack of the Clones, would have made so much sense. Would have been really cool if it were Grievous. Because in the movies, we know that Grievous continues and is actually dominant. I mean, he's not like Newt Gunray, who's useless. He is a power within the Separatist army. So if Palpatine were controlling him, then they can be whose forces are going to capture Palpatine? It would be Grievous's. So Dooku would be able to be shut out from this, and then at the end realize, wait, you've been serving him the entire time, and then killed. You could absolutely have done that, and it would be so much better, and the character could have been kept so good, so powerful, so good as in a good character, not as in a good person, but so interesting. A character to be achieving so much that actually would be good. He would be considered a hero of the galaxy, except Palpatine is that much higher above him. It would have been so much better, but instead they make him just a racist idiot. All right. I'm gonna get to this. Then there's one point that may get me ranting some. Because part of this plan is also, I mean, it's acknowledged that Anakin, and it's been mentioned, like, Dooku's aware of this, but it's been mentioned elsewhere, that Anakin considers Palpatine like a father to him, and it's like, so very close friend. And Dooku, in his mind, is basically, how can one defeat an enemy, how can one defeat an enemy one thinks is a friend? And he thinks that this is so brilliant. It's like, will and priorities. I mean, it's like, yeah, it does take some willpower to decide, well, I love you, I'm going to kill you. Take some willpower for that. But it is also priorities. It's like, Anakin could be like, yes, Palpatine, I love you as a father. But you're potentially hurting Obi-Wan, who I love as a brother, Padme, who is my wife, the Republic, I love it. Like, all those things are a greater priority than you. So, goodbye. I mean, it's like you can't absolutely do that. And I'll also use an example here. I mentioned in previous videos the manga and anime Bleach. And there is in the Fullbring arc, near the end of it, there's a character that's actually able to, I don't really like their powers, but in any case, is able to at least convince people that they have known them potentially all their lives. And he uses this ability on one character. And it's even like, with fight, they have to fight, and it's like, why would you do this? How could you do this? How could you ever turn your sword against me? And this is the bad guy there is Tsukishima. I'm not even pronouncing it right. I'm sorry. And the other that he's manipulated is Byakuya Kuchiki. Okay. And Byakuya initially was the enemy of the show's protagonist, the manga's protagonist, Ichigo Kurosaki, right? But they have become friends. And there is a definite trust and loyalty that Byakuya has towards him, such that when he has struck a fatal blow to Tsukishima, Tsukishima asks, "How could you do that to me?" Because it's like, I've known you all these lives. Part of it was even that he supposedly trained with Byakuya, so he knew every attack and so knew how to counter it. Byakuya had to get creative to still kill him. But how could you do this to me? And Byakuya simply goes, because you are Ichigo Kurosaki's enemy. Will and priority. And he knew, to be fair, coming into the battle, he knew this was the power he would be facing, that ability he would be facing. So he may have mentally prepared it, but it was still the priority is, I am loyal to Ichigo Kurosaki. You are his enemy. That's all I need to know. You must die. So, yeah. How can you kill one you think is a friend? You just need a good enough reason. Which technically would be the same for anyone. It might be a harder line to cross than a random person. I would hope so. Well, I don't know. It's a high line to cross for anyone, to kill anyone, I would think. But still, it's like it's not really as good a reason as you think to be like, oh yeah, we'll be fine. It's like, no, Dooku, you're not. That's not a reason to think you'll be safe. It also does depend, because some people, Byakuya is very much described as a cold person, somebody who is calculating and very willful. There's also ways that you see he is not that. That is the face he puts on, but putting that aside, it still is the idea that you absolutely could have somebody who, yes, would kill their friends if they felt it's necessary. And it would pain them the rest of their lives. It may ruin them. But if it's what has to be done, they'll do it. And without them having to be bad guys, because it also just occurred to me, like in The Usual Suspects, the story of Kaiser Sose killing his own family to prove a point to people that had kidnapped his family to threaten him, that he is a man of such will. There, it's like, yeah, well, Kaiser Sose is supposed to be evil. Even without being evil, you could still potentially kill a friend if you feel it is that necessary. And indeed, that reminds me, I forgot to mention at the end of chapter 1, even, how it was, whether Obi-Wan... Together they are unstoppable, Anakin and Obi-Wan. Unbeatable. They are the ultimate go-to guys of the Jedi Order. When the good guys absolutely positively have to win, the call goes out. Obi-Wan and Anakin always answers. Whether Obi-Wan's legendary cleverness might beat Anakin's raw power, straight up. No rules is the subject of schoolyard fistfights, crush, pool, wiggle match. I mean, it's basically just... I don't like this, by the way, and I can get back to that. But these struggles always end somehow with the combatants on both sides admitting that it doesn't matter. Anakin and Obi-Wan would never fight each other. They couldn't. They're a team. They're the team. And both of them are sure they always will be. It's like... We've always known they were going to fight. Writing this is dumb. But, there's that. But it's also... I don't like how this author is constantly trying to be like, oh yes, and there are other non-human species, so we have to include... It's like, we don't care. It's like, we don't need these other descriptions there. It's kind of like the whole... crap, what were they calling it in Phantom Menace? The transparent steel instead of glass, and the, like, permacrete instead of concrete. It's like, we know what this is. It's glass and concrete. Just call it that. You're not just giving it any properties different from those materials we already know. You don't need to make this crap up. It doesn't improve the story. And it's also like with this, it's like, again, it doesn't improve the story by talking about, oh, all these other species. It's like, we don't care. We don't see what you're talking about. We're not familiar with these species. You're not introducing us to these species. You're just listing off these other things that is kind of just nonsense. And it's like kids having schoolyard fist fights in a playful kind of way, boys being boys kind of stuff. It's like, that's all you need to say. You don't need to go into this other stuff. You can just say boys being boys. You can just say childhood fistfights. That's fine. We understand the idea that children are children regardless of the species. It's like, I get how there's different names than child for other species, but you can still just say children and people understand that. Anyway, last thing. That this is I feel like it is a retcon. And I dislike it because it doesn't work. I mean, it's such a heavy retcon that it's dangerous. I could even see it be... I'm also a little biased here. I will acknowledge that, which when I get to what it is, you'll understand. If you remember some of the other things I've said. But it's one of those things where if I were Lucas and saw this is what someone would write, I would literally call that person up or just somehow say directly to them, you need to change that. Why? Because it is wrong. But it's no, you don't understand. This cannot agree with what has been stated before. There is no way to have these agree. You cannot have it say this. You need to rewrite it. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. Okay. So the Fist of the Empire. And that fist would become a power beyond any Jedi's darkest dreams. The Jedi were not the only users of the Force in the galaxy. From Hapes to Harun Kal, from Kifu to Dathomir, powerful Force-capable humans and near-humans had long refused to surrender their children to lifelong bond servitude in the Jedi Order. They would not so refuse the Sith army. It's like, this has never been even suggested that a parent could refuse their child going to the Jedi. And they're taking it within 1 year of 1 year since birth. That's not oh yes, here you can take a child. It's no. There's no way that can be squared there, that this is voluntary. Especially because it's like, oh, well, there's an age limit. Once they're so old, we can't take them. Once they're past a year old, we can't take them. It's like, no, I'm keeping the child. I'm handling this. Oh no, the child has such force powers, doesn't know how to manage them. I don't know how to teach them how to handle any of this. Hey, Jedi, I need you to take this child and train them. Well, we can't. They're too old now. You cannot square this. Okay, you cannot square this. Unless you do just have non-Jedi force training centers throughout the galaxy. Which, again, you can't square that with it because the Jedi would have to control that. So it is just nonsense. And it's also the whole, what about Anakin then? I mean, it's like, I'd have to be well, no, he can't possibly be a Jedi. But there's these other schools that, he can go there and learn. It's like, he might be the chosen one. We really need controls. Well, we'll just send that. It's utter nonsense. And no, it is just nonsense. If it were instead written that there are so many beyond the Republic that the Jedi don't know about, the Jedi aren't monitoring, that's one thing. But this is saying, oh no, the parents are refusing. It is never suggested at all. The opposite is suggested previously, that the Jedi will just take these kids. That it is their right as Jedi that they can do that. It's just... Now, I am biased here, because as I said, that's actually one of the things that showed that the Jedi are not really the good guys. But so I am kind of attached to the whole, no, they are doing this, but it still is the whole, this cannot be voluntary. Because it also then, if it is voluntary, then why do they, then it's like you are giving up this child that, but when do actually children say their first words? Is that even at 1 year old? I'm not even sure. I'm like, you are giving up, and it could be even younger than that. I mean, it's the whole, I think I had mentioned previously that an infant's brain, it actually continues to develop. Well, technically the brain continues to develop for a very long time. But it's like, human children are born early compared to other primates. But it's just the amount of brain development that the human infant would need to have to match that of, say, a chimpanzee. I think a chimpanzee is an example of this. Would require them to gestate so much longer, it would not be possible for a woman to give birth, that they would be too large. So, give birth, and it's about 6 months to reach the level of brain development that, I might be wrong, but I'm going to continue to say the chimpanzee, that infant will have at birth. Okay, so 6 months is basically, your brain is still developing just initial things. So potentially you're already taken as a Jedi at that point. You might not even be able, it might not even be possible, and I kind of doubt it would be possible for you to have memories forming at this point. And you're telling me that can be voluntary? No. Plus, there's the whole, I think a lot of parents would be like, hold it. What will happen to my child if you take him? Well, we're going to train him with the Force. Okay, I got that. That's good. We're going to train him to use a lightsaber. Oh, okay. Can you tell me more about this? About this lightsaber training? Yes, well, it's part of the mental discipline. But aren't those also weapons? Yes, they will be trained to use the weapons so we can, secure peace in the galaxy. Okay, and what age does it start at? 5? That's a child soldier kind of routine here. Well, you're not touching my kid. You can't have that retcon there. It cannot be squared with what has been established previously, and also with the reality that I think a lot of parents would be like, fuck off, Jedi. And it is also that if you've got all those children that had been refusing, there's a lot of Force users out there then. And plus, when you think about it, at this time, this is war. The Jedi are losing numbers. They're finding them. They're going to be recruiting them. It's like it wouldn't even matter that, yeah, they're not true Jedi. It would still be we will give you a crash course because we need you to fight if you're willing to join us. Are you willing to join us? Sure, yeah, we're part of the Republic. We want to do what we can. And I'm willing to join you now. They don't go together. At times, while reading this, I know I'm only 2 chapters in, 3 if you count the introduction. At times, I'm reading it, it's like, oh yeah, this is kind of interesting. But then it's stuff like this, and it's like, I'm not going to enjoy this book. I really think I'm not going to. There's just too much stuff here that's making me angry, because it's like, Dooku's a fool, and also kind of stupid. You're trying to change things up that you really can't. I hit 40 minutes again. Shit. Don't worry, I am finishing it. But it's just... It's frustrating me. And I am committed to reading it. Let me put it like this. I think I've talked about this before, though I've not named the book, and I have no intention of ever naming it. It's technically a book series. But, the Nook versions that I have, they, at the end of the body of the book that I actually read, has a preview of the next one. I read that. And it's like, I already was, I mean, I get how some people can like it, but there's plenty that but I'm reading this preview for the third book in the series. And the description here has a dude that should be at this level. Right? He wants to be a king. But what you're presenting to me in this portion of a chapter, I don't think it was the full chapter. Might have been the full chapter. I don't remember. Shows a level of stupidity because he's trusting a source to even be trusting somebody he's never met before to be a source of knowledge, and is allowing him to be nearby him. He's a moron, and I'm supposed to believe he's a threat. I mean, he has power because of the people under him, but he's an idiot. Like, and not like Dooku. No. With Dooku, it's like, hey, he's not exactly an idiot. He is kind of stupid, but he's a fool. It's like, no, this guy's just an idiot. This guy's just stupid. And I'm just thinking the whole, he wants to be a king. He wants to have a kingdom. I got a character in one story that the response to learning this, if he were there, would be like, all right, go ahead and do that. Find your kingdom, claim your land, and know you will be my enemy. And the thing is, it would be one of those things where this guy wanting to be king would be like, oh shit, he will absolutely kill me. He would recognize I am not at that guy's level. And I'm trying, it's like, because if I become a king, I need to be at his level, and I am not. And it would even be you'd have to do it beyond my borders. What are your borders? The entire continent. So I either have to leave, or you're going to kill me. Exactly. Maybe I don't want this thing anymore. It's like, that's a good decision. I can't read that story. And there's part of me that wants to, but it's like, no. Because it's too stupid. I can't take it seriously. I can't take that guy seriously. And in theory, I'm supposed to. But I want to take a threat seriously, take a character seriously because they are serious, not because I'm told that they are. It's going to be fun when I get to writing that story with that other character. Because, I mean, he legitimately has to operate at that level. Like, he would, the whole assets and threats, no. He would never do that. Okay? He would absolutely view everyone just as they are. And know that some of them who are opposed to him, it's like, okay, but I can still use that. That's still useful to me. Okay? I mean, it's like, he would never, and he doesn't necessarily even think, no, he will think of people as enemies. But it's like a declared enemy kind of thing. Where it's like, oh, you oppose me. Okay, that's fine. I don't need to kill you. I might, but I don't need to kill you because of that. Was an enemy? No, he'll kill you. Yeah. But it's also, it's one thing, because I also actually talked about this some with the original trilogy. And I know, I'm just still going on. Where how, like there would be people opposing him. And people would vandalize things. I figure I'll describe them there. And he's actually okay with this for two reasons. One is, he actually doesn't have a problem with people trying to make fun of him. It's like, yeah, whatever, I can take it. But it's also, he uses the vandalism to his advantage. Because anytime that the vandalism drops in an area, he knows, oh, those people are busy doing something else. So there's something going on in that area. And it's like, that's the level he operates at, where it's like, yeah, I'm not going to be upset with you. I'll have you arrested for vandalism, but what you're writing isn't going to upset me, might even entertain me, but it's also, I'm learning from this anyway. It's actually helping me. Like, you think you're hurting me. No, you're helping me. This whole time, you're helping me. And it's like, that's where he is. Dooku isn't at that level in that one character in the other book, the character that would be king. It's like, is clearly not at that level. And it's like, I want enemies at that level. I want threats at that level. I want characters at that level. Give me characters at that level. Palpatine should be at that level and isn't. Because of the whole stupid 10-year plan. But that was Attack of the Clones ranting, and I'm going on long enough and... I have a feeling a lot of these videos for Revenge of the Sith are going to be long. See you next time.